Hi, everyone. Welcome to Birth Your Vision podcast live. I'm your host. It's a pleasure to have you here today. I'm super excited to welcome my amazing guest, Doepker. He's a rock guitarist turned 7-time #1 best-selling author. He discovered a proven process that took him from struggling author to selling over 75 books. Now he shares his process with thousands of authors through workshops, courses, and retreats, empowering them to actually turn their passion for writing into a thriving business. I'm super excited today that he's here to join us to share some of these processes and the strategies that he was able to use. So get your pens and your papers ready, get yourself a nice cold drink, and we are about to kickstart the Birth Your Vision podcast live. It's a pleasure to have you here. I just want to say hello to all my amazing guests. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am live streaming on Facebook and also on YouTube, so you can catch us live on both platforms. So leave your comments and your messages and your thoughts, your ideas in the comment section below, and I'll be able to look at those and also ask Derek as well. So Derek, it's a pleasure to have you here today. I am super excited. Thank you so much and welcome to Birth Your Vision podcast live.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Hannah. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to sharing what I can. And you mentioned 75 books, 75,000 books as a point of clarification. So this is going to be some of the strategies for if you want to sell books, but also even if you don't sell any books, a book can be a great way to actually give away for free to grow your business. So we can explore that as well.
Amazing. That's really awesome. Thank you so much. So just tell us where you are, live from in terms of this interview. Tell us where you are.
I am in Los Angeles, California right now. Technically Fantastic. Glendale, but LA area. Yep.
So what is the weather like over there? Because it's really hot over here.
It's warm. It's sunny, which is typical for LA. So grateful to be here in a place that has usually pretty good weather year round.
Oh, fantastic. That's really awesome. So welcome to the platform. It's a pleasure to have you here. And as we go in, I just wanted to go into you just sharing about your journey, really, just giving us a brief account of, the journey of how you were able to get to this level of success.
Sure. Well, I didn't expect to be an author or writer, and I didn't expect to be an entrepreneur. My journey, I started out playing guitar and I went to school for music. So my whole dream was move to Los Angeles and become a rock star. And after I moved to LA, I was broke, sleeping on an air mattress, parking cars, delivering hot wings just to pay the bills. And that's when I got into, and shortly before that, into the whole world of entrepreneurship. And my passion was the driving force was, can I take something that I'm passionate about, which I was also into fitness, and be able to make money from that so I could do something I love, earn an income from that, and also be able to pursue music. So that got me into it. And I can go into the long version, but I'll give you a somewhat brief version, which is essentially it took me a couple years of studying a lot of books, listening to audio programs like this at the time, podcasts, teleseminars, and immersing myself, and published my first book in 2012, sold about 3 copies of that first book in the first month or so. Did not do that well. Published second book, didn't do a whole lot better. But after continuing through the process, I eventually put the pieces together, published a third book. It became a #1 bestseller in weight loss. Made almost $6,000 in royalties in 11 days. And since then, each book has become a bestseller. And more importantly, for anyone, if you're listening to this, book sales are great, but it's really what helped establishes your authority and build your business now for coaching clients, course sales. And it all really started once I had a successful book.
Wow, that's amazing. Incredible. Back in 2012, because I was doing some research about, the journey and everything in terms of your books, what I realized was back in 2012, you started to inspire people, to reach the body and mindful potential with innovative fitness hacks. And what I realized was you started that, and then you now decided to turn this idea into book selling, which is really amazing. And one of your book is how to stick to a diet, and also 50 fitness tips you wish you knew. So really, what inspired and motivated the fitness hacks? How did you kind of come up with that idea? What inspired that?
So this is something, if you look out for it, you might experience this in your life, which is, what are people coming to you for advice about? And I didn't think back then, I'm like, well, who's going to listen to me? Right? What do I have to say? I'm just some dude that plays guitar. Like, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not some big, fitness trainer or whatever. But I noticed that, I had friends and family members that kept asking me for fitness advice. I'm just some dude that plays guitar. Like, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not some big, getting some feedback here. I'm gonna turn it down. So I looked at that and I go, if people keep coming to me for advice, maybe there is something that I can share with people. And this is true for any of you that, you might think, well, other people have said it before, but they might not say it the way that you say it. They don't necessarily have your perspective or your stories around whatever it is that your area of expertise is. So first of all, I had to own the fact that, I actually know something about this that not everyone knows. People will want to hear it. And that's what inspired me to start blogging, doing a YouTube channel, and then eventually writing books on fitness. And what really helps is once you start putting out even just a few blog articles or videos, and people go, oh, that was so helpful. That was a great tip. Things that you might think, well, gee, that doesn't seem all that special, but then you get that positive feedback and I go, okay, there is an audience for this. And then that inspired me to keep going and eventually put the books out there.
That is really amazing. So, tell us about when it comes to self-publishing. How did you start the journey to be a self-publisher?
Well, I had, at that point, this was middle of 2012, I had started blogging and YouTube videos, like I mentioned, and I actually posted on a blog. And they picked a winner. They had this thing like leave a comment and they picked a winner, and I won a Kindle e-reader. And so I got this Kindle e-reader in the mail, and I go, oh yeah, I heard about this whole self-publishing on Kindle thing. It was just, it was still somewhat in its early days, but it had gained some traction at that point. And I go, okay, I've written a bit at this point. Let me go ahead and put some of my writing out there as a book on Amazon. Yeah. And I also realized that when I was trying to sell on my own website, I just had like a little PayPal link. It was before all the funnel builders and stuff we have these days. But I realized it was harder to get someone to just buy something through a PayPal link on some, not that professional looking website versus people are used to buying things on Amazon. So when you have a book on Amazon, there's a perception now like, oh, this is a legitimate book from an author. Okay. Yeah. So that inspired me to put my writing out there. And once I learned the process, that initial, even though my first couple books initially didn't sell that well, remember you get this feeling of seeing something. If you're still in the early stages as an entrepreneur, when you sell your first product, you see the first sale come in, and it wasn't just to my mom. It's like an actual person bought it, and then they leave a positive review. Imagine you get like a positive review. Someone mentions how your book or how your product or your service impacted them. That initial rush of like, maybe there's some potential here. That's what really inspired me to keep going and pursue it.
Fantastic. That sounds really amazing. And when it comes to, entrepreneurs, because I have a lot of female entrepreneurs, and that is my area of niche. Those are the people that I cater to. I just wanted to know, because some of them are watching right now, and they want to know about, how can they actually grow their business in terms of writing a book, including a book in their business. How can they actually sell it and make money from it?
Yeah, so a couple reasons why a book helps you in your business. So even outside of selling the book, there's the status that we give as a society to authors. So when you are an author of a book, that instantly positions you differently. Whether that's if you want to now go get speaking engagements, if you want to get on interviews or podcasts, if you want to even giving out the book away for free to potential clients to educate them on your process and your qualifications, a book has value. Mm-hmm. And that's why there's this saying, a book, the best business card is a book. Right. So that's where, even if you're not forgetting about sales directly from the book for a second, it's what it does for your authority thinking of the word authority.
Authority.
It's establishing your authority as an entrepreneur, and why people, especially if you're a thought leader, it establishes that. But even service-based businesses, I've heard of, doctors' offices and different places, real estate agents, people in any industry as an entrepreneur or any business owner, using a book to educate the prospects and to get them, to learn more about why you could be the go-to choice in your industry. So there's that benefit. And then there's the practical benefit of things like offering a book for sale. You sell it, and you either sell it or even as a free way of getting people onto an email list. That becomes the front end of a funnel from which you can then bring people to courses. If you offer coaching programs, consulting, done for you services, anything like that, that book is that easy entry point where people then get to know, like, and trust you through the book. And then that leads to sales of other products and services that are usually going to be the bigger money maker. And even if money is a primary motivator as a business owner, you want to make money. So it's not even so much about how much the book generates directly. It's nice if you make a few hundreds or thousands of extra dollars a month from book sales, but really a lot of times it's what the book is doing for you on the back end. So that's why it's important, if you're going to write a book, to think with the end in mind. Where do I want this book to lead people to? And that's usually going to be, you probably didn't become, like me, an entrepreneur just to write a book. It's more the book is a vehicle to grow your business and grow the sales of your other products and services.
Fantastic. That's really awesome. So in terms of what you do, workshops and courses and coaching and helping people, give us a rough idea of how you've been able to help many in terms of helping them to, create books and also sell their books and market their books as well.
I'll give the high level overview, and then I can go into some practical tips for this. So on the high level, I teach primarily. I've been focusing over the past year, since 2013, on book marketing. So you have a book now. How do you get it out there? Whether that's selling the book and getting that, which of course you need to get the book out there and in people's hands in order for it to have that beneficial effect of them becoming a raving fan and wanting to buy your other products and services. I also, though, if it's more coaching level, I also work with many entrepreneurs who want to turn their knowledge and expertise into a book. And that includes what do you put in the book? What do you not put in the book? How do you structure it? All of those questions that they have, the technical things of formatting it, editing, cover design, getting it out there. So really, from the process of, I'm thinking about writing a book, what do I do? From that point up to the point of, okay, I got the book done. How do I get it out there and actually sell the book? That's where I can take people through. And then if you have questions about any part of that journey, happy to dive into some tips and strategies.
Sounds really, really amazing. Fantastic. So, sometimes in life we all face, different setbacks and challenges. What challenges have you actually faced within this journey?
A lot. The biggest, one of the biggest pain points for me was when I first attempted, I did, I guess I won't say attempted, but I did write a book and created this 18-hour course on all things health and fitness. And
hours.
Yeah. So it took me months of putting this together, and then I launched it. And this was before I did Amazon self-publishing. I launched it. I had a name your own price. So people could pay $1 and get all of this. Right. And
really?
Or they could pay more, but it was name your own price. And I put it out there. And this is, again, I think it was about 2012, maybe into 2011, but I think it was going into 2012 when I did this. And I put it out there, and a bunch of comments on Facebook. Great job. Awesome. All that. But then the sales were barely coming in. I'm like, you can pay $1. Why? Thanks for the nice job. I want you to buy it, and so that was painful for me because I put in all of this work. I didn't get the return. And the biggest thing is I can barely give this thing away. And I still face this from time to time. I've gotten much better at marketing, but I'll still put stuff out there, like even a free offer, and not a lot of people take it up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is stopping you from getting this? And that frustration was ultimately a benefit, though, because it led me to understand marketing and psychology, why people buy, why people don't buy, even just selling it on my own website versus on Amazon, all of these factors that influence sales. So that frustration and that feeling of failure ultimately led me to learn more. But there's a practical upside too, and that is when I created that 18-hour course in this, it was like this 350 page guide, even though it didn't sell that well,
Yeah.
that book later on, months later, that became a #1 bestseller. That a lot of the material in that successful book came from repackaging the material in my failed book. So it
Right.
wasn't just that I learned from it. I actually was able to take it and
Change it
repurpose
around,
it and
repurpose
actually
it.
have success with it. Yeah. So if anyone's
Fantastic.
going, you know,
Yeah.
I'm worried I'm going to put all this time and money into something and it's going to fail. It's like, I appreciate that fear. And even if it does fail, what if you just repurpose it and it becomes successful? And now you don't see it as a failure. You just see it was like a stepping stone that
Yeah.
then led to your greater success.
Fantastic. I love that. I love the fact that you mentioned that you repurpose, you repackaged, and then you now put it out there, and it did a lot much more better. And I think a lot of people need to learn that as well, because a lot of us, we don't really know how to actually repurpose some of the contents that we have, and also in writing books as well. When it comes to book writing, some people kind of have writer's block. Did you ever experience, writer's block at all?
Every now and then, yeah, I certainly get stuck with what do I want to say? What do I want to
Yeah.
write about? And
Yeah.
in the early days, what helped me was actually not going through writing, but rather my first book. And I wasn't really trying to do this as a strategy. It just happened to go this way, where I took what I recorded on all these videos and
Yeah.
then I kind of transcribed it / wrote it out, but I was shifting the words a little bit. So what I find is a strategy for many people is, if you're not naturally a writer, if you don't consider yourself a writer, if that's where things don't just flow out, put yourself into a different situation where that might be record a video or record a conversation with a friend. I love doing interviews like this, because you might find if you go and you do an interview with someone or ask someone to interview you, and they ask you questions about what your area of expertise or your knowledge or your business, and by them asking you a question, you might find like, oh, well, here's my answer, and you say it and you record it, and then now you can take that transcription and that can be inspiration for the book. So the challenge is, if you're just sitting there staring at a blank page, blank
Yeah.
screen, the blinking cursor, and you're like, where do I even begin? So put yourself in situations that are going to spark ideas, spark inspiration. Think about conversations you've had with potential clients or existing clients. Think about conversations that you've had with customers, questions people ask you all the time. And again, if it helps, actually just record it on audio, walk around, record it on audio, and use that as the basis to get a lot of material for the book.
Right. That's really, really useful and very helpful as well. So someone just asks about, how do you become the #1 bestseller? How? What is the process? What do they have to do? And what does that consist of?
So this is the short answer is marketing, but marketing how, right? Like, what do you do to market the book? And of course, there's different strategies. And I like to look at the 80-20, which is like, what's the 20% that gets you 80% of your results? And when I looked at the most successful authors, whether they were self-published, whether they were traditionally published, whether they were big name, whether they were just, these niche entrepreneurs, I looked at what are the most common strategies that they use to sell not just a few books here and there, but thousands, tens of thousands, even millions of books. And what I found is that you can break it down to something I call the ASPIRE method. ASPIRE is an acronym, and this is true if you're marketing a book, but it could also be marketing, almost anything else in your business. And so A is ads.
Method, yeah.
Yep. A for ads, advertising. So that's things like you have Facebook ads, you have ads on Amazon to promote books, and you have places that specifically promote books in your genre that you can pay for advertising. So that's the A. The S is social media, which most people are probably going to be familiar with Facebook and Instagram and so on. You have P, which is one of the biggest ones. And this is how Hal Elrod, who sold over 1 million books, author of The Miracle Morning and other books in that series, he said this was his number one strategy. And P is platforms, and specifically going on as a podcast guest. So guest podcasting. And so that could also be speaking on people's stages. And these days, typically virtual stages. Could be going in publications, guest posting, so on and so forth. So that's P for platforms. I stands for influencers. So who are other authorities in your area, right? So if you have, let's say it's one of my clients, she's a therapist, a psychiatrist. So who are other people who are other psychiatrists, mental health professionals? It could be anyone else who's writing in the same genre as you, fellow authors. You know, if they promote and share your book, that can get you a lot of leverage. And I think about this, if you, at least in my experience, if you look on your any books that you bought on Amazon, and I did this recently, and I go probably 80%, if I go down the list, probably 80% or so of those books came from a recommendation that someone had. Someone mentioned, oh, check this book out. So you think about how can you get people influencers to share it? And along those same lines is readers or referrals. How can you get the readers inspired to share your book and motivated and say, hey, post this on social media, hashtag a picture of you with the book, and I'm going to draw a prize. Things like this to get readers sharing your book. And then you have E. So I'll recap here before I go into E. Ads, social media, platforms like podcasts and publications, influencers, readers/referrals, and all of this ideally leads back to the E, which is email. It's really boiling down to growing your email list. And from there, you can promote the book as well as promote anything else in your business as an entrepreneur.
Fantastic. So as an aspiring entrepreneur, how can you actually build your email list if you don't really have any in the beginning to start with?
Yep. So these things that I'm talking about, if you can do ads to build your email list, that's one way. The social media, of course. Now, P for platforms, this is a great thing to do, especially before you have a book out, in your business in general, whether you're going to write a book or not. Get on podcasts as a guest and write for the publications that are in your area. So, for instance, I've written on success.com or Mind Body Green, and each industry has its publications and podcasts tailored to it these days, right? The podcasting and blogging world has grown so much that you can likely find, just about guaranteed, find podcasts and publications that are a fit for your message. So going on there is free. I guess you could hire a publicity person, but you don't have to if you know the strategies to get booked. And so you can get yourself on these platforms and use that to talk about your message, and then invite people back towards your email list with some sort of gift that you have for people, whether that's a cheat sheet, a buyer's guide, could be a book. Once you have a book, anything that would inspire people to then sign up to your email list. And of course, there's other strategies, but those are some of the most high leverage and cost-effective ways to build your email list.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So this is another question that some of my female entrepreneurs want to know. So sometimes they actually struggle when it comes to pricing their books. What's your take on that? How do you go by pricing your books?
Well, it's partly going to depend on what your goals are. If your goal is to get as many people to get the book as possible, you might price it lower. And sometimes there's a place for free. Now, the downside of free books is sometimes you get freebie seekers and people may not value it if it's free. So that's the downside. However, you can weigh it against other factors. Sometimes it makes sense and going for a lower price. At the alternative, you could go for a higher price to qualify people more. And maybe it's not about as many sales as much as you have a more specific audience. Sometimes you sell it on your own website for maybe it's a $30 or $50 book, almost like a course type of thing. So there's no one size fits all. If I'm going to give a general suggestion, typically you would go on Amazon and you would look at what do books typically sell for in this genre in your area and pricing it around, there to start with, and then you can test. See, the interesting thing is sometimes, let's say an ebook could be $3 or $5 or $7 or $10, kind of in that thing, $3 to $10 range. And you might find you sell as many or more books at $7 or $10 as you do at $5, in which case you're making equal sales at a higher price point, but sometimes not. Sometimes you go past a certain number and the sales really drop off. So it's really going to be a test and see process where you start with what's typical in the genre.
Wow, fantastic. I mean, how long did it actually take you to get to this level of success? I know, you shared your story in the beginning. I think some of our viewers would really like to know, for some of them who are actually aspiring to get to, a higher level in terms of writing books, becoming an author.
Yeah, so I'm going to answer that a couple ways. I can start with this is not the most accurate way of putting it, but if I could say like, oh, well, that third book that I published, I actually went from blank page, like nothing written, to having it written, published, #1 bestseller in about 3 to 4 weeks. And you go, wow, that can happen really quickly. Here's the thing. That was building on 2 years of trial and error and trying a lot of things, and then building on another 20 plus years of life experience, not to mention, probably 8, 9 years of even just learning about, in this case, it's a fitness book, learning about health and fitness and building my knowledge in that area, talking to people about that stuff. So I'm like, it was either, you could say it was a 20 plus year process because I was in my 20s when I did it. You could say maybe it was about an 8 to 10 year process of just learning a lot of the foundational materials. You could say it was a 2-year process from the time I got into entrepreneurship. You could say it was a 3-4 week process to just go there. So this is one of the things to watch out for. If you hear someone that looks like they had overnight success and you're like, well, they just tried this thing and suddenly they were successful, but I've been going at this for 6 months and it's not working for me. Yeah, well, you don't necessarily see all the behind the scenes foundation that they've built. So the good news is if you have the process, once you know the process, it can happen fairly quickly, right? But this also depends on what foundational work have you done to, how well do you know your material? How well do you know the people that you're serving? It comes down to understanding your market. How well do you understand the principles of marketing and all of this sort of stuff? So it can happen fairly quickly with the right tools, but if it doesn't happen right away, realize there's so much foundation. And it's like, say, I'm a play guitar. So imagine learning an instrument, learning to play piano or play guitar. You could watch a few videos and learn a few tricks from a YouTube video and kind of like fake, a little bit about what you're doing, but to really have competency, it's going to probably take, at least a year or a couple of years to start to really get it, a grasp on it. And then it can take, 5+ years to start to begin gaining this mastery over it.
Absolutely. I mean, in the beginning, did you have any coach to actually help you, to assist you, accountability partners, people to show you how to actually go by doing it?
So a lot of what I learned early on was I was going through some courses, books. So some of it I paid for, some of it was just consuming free podcasts and videos and things like that. And I had a roommate who we would help keep each other accountable to some stuff. What I didn't have my breakthrough though until I attended a seminar. In this seminar, I paid probably a couple $1,000s for. And at the time I was broke. So the only way I was able to go to this seminar was, well, first of all, I actually volunteered at other seminars, which helped. So that's an insight. If you don't have a ton of money to attend a seminar, volunteering is sometimes a way to get in. But for me, it was important that I part of my journey, I'm glad I paid for this, which meant taking about 2 years of making payments each month to be able to attend this seminar. So I signed up like beginning of 2011. I attended the seminar November of 2012. So that mentor and what I learned at that seminar, that was the turning point. And then I had my breakthrough the following month, in large part because of the final pieces that were put together at that seminar. So I consider that seminar and the person who led it, a man named Brandon Broadwater, to be a big influence, plus the courses I went through and the other people I was learning from. So absolutely having mentors, having coaches, having training is absolutely, in my opinion, essential. Otherwise, you could figure it out on your own, but it could take you
a bit longer.
10 years. And if you try to go on and figure it out through Some people think, well, this is what I did. Like, oh, I'll just watch a bunch of videos on it and read a bunch of articles. Well, now you get so much conflicting information. It's like,
absolutely.
Which thing do I do? Do I do this? Do I do that? What's right for me? That worked for them, but it's not working for me. And it can be so overwhelming that it really does help to have someone or something that can guide you through the process.
Fantastic. I mean, who has been your biggest influence, and who inspires you?
Well, I mean, I give credit to Brandon for being a big influence through that seminar. It's been so many people, though, in different areas that it's hard to say. I mean, I'm inspired if you read a book, so I love the book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. I don't know Harv Eker or anything, but just reading his book inspired me. And then studying how he wrote the book made an impact. But that's also Jack Canfield, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, so many people I'm learning from and soaking it in. Yeah. It's just like learning music. Like you can go, who's your biggest influence in music? And I'm like, well, I can name, if I had to pick one, I could maybe say like Nuno Bittencourt as a guitar player, but there was all these guitar players who like, I took a piece from one person and influence from another, and it all kind of comes together to shape your unique style, if you will. So for me, it's multiple people that have come together, and they've each added their own piece to the puzzle when it came to helping me in my life and in my business.
Fantastic. What vital tip would you actually give to somebody who's actually thinking about self-publishing? What would you tell them?
I would say, well, on this theme, get a coach, ideally, or at the very least, get some sort of proven process that can take you through it. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out, and then get some type of feedback on it. So there's a quote, it doesn't matter how hard, I'm paraphrasing this, it doesn't matter how hard you row your boat if you're rowing in the wrong direction. So what happens is I see people, whether it's writing a book, whether it's creating a course, whether it's doing anything else, I have multiple coaches and mentors offering me feedback, because you can think you're doing it the best way, and you have no idea if you might inadvertently be messing something up. So I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the professor will show a move. I remember one class in particular, it's like this kick that you do to kind of push someone away. And I'm doing it, and I'm like, this isn't quite working. And the professor comes over and goes, oh, it's not like a soccer kick, it's more like a push kick, or however he described it. And I go, oh, okay, got it. But here's the thing. If I didn't have the professor do that, I would have kept practicing with the wrong form. I would have actually reinforced the wrong technique. And then I would have kept going and getting frustrated. Like, I did what they said and it's not working, right? Yeah. But you need that outside feedback you just don't know what you don't know in the early stages. Absolutely. So having someone that can point these things out for you, can see your blind spots, that to me is not only speeds up the process, but it actually keeps you from going in the wrong direction and spending a lot of time doing something that's actually taking you further from your goals.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Somebody wants to know about, self-publishing when it comes to tools. Could you share one or two tools that you've been able to use to help you as a self-publisher?
So it depends on what area you need help with for the tool. So there's things like the actual writing the book. To me I just use like Microsoft Word, things like that. So it's more about formatting, cover design, things like that, if it's the actual book creation. And for that, I find people. There's Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, as many people are familiar with. It's a place where you can find some people, but cover designer is really hit or miss if you go a place like that. So having that you can find in a great resource is reedsy.com. And that's a place where you can find professional formatters, cover designers, publicity specialists, marketing specialists, basically all things authorship. That's a great place. And I don't have an affiliation with them. And I haven't hired anyone off of there, because I've had people that I've known. I have heard good things though when people have hired people off of there, because they vet the freelancers, and many of them actually have worked for traditional publishers. So if I don't know someone who can do a job already through my network, that would be a place that I go to or recommend clients go to find someone.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I know you have some upcoming events or projects coming up. Could you share some of that with us?
So the biggest thing coming up is a training on creating audiobooks, which is not going to be as relevant until you know that you're going to be writing a book.
Yeah.
And then trainings on how to get booked on podcasts. So I'll be relaunching that again. And if you want to get notified about that, should I share a link if people want to hear?
Yes, please leave the link below. That would be really awesome if you can. Or
okay.
And I'll just share it as well.
So the best place, I have a free book, Why Authors Fail, and that's at bestsellersecrets.com.
Yeah, I've come across that book as well. Amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And so you can get that book, and then you'll get notified of any upcoming trainings. And if you also want to email me if you have any questions or things like that, then you can just send a reply after you get the free book.
Fantastic. Is there anything that you would like to kind of share with our audience when it comes to really getting down to writing a book? Because sometimes, some of us, we do procrastinate, and, some of us, we find it very hard, overwhelming to set goals. So what is your advice for anyone who is actually feeling overwhelmed, struggling to set goals, and just sort of procrastinating and not really making, the effort in terms of kickstarting writing their book?
Yeah, there's a few tips that I can give. So first of all, there's the internal conviction that what you have to offer is valuable. People are going to want it, and here's what it's going to do for your business. And that's the why behind it. And when that's really strong, it will tend to help pull you through the process. You'll be compelled to want to get this book out there. So one thing that I can share quickly on that is discovering your author archetype. In all authors, you might have a mix of these, but you're likely predominantly one of these three archetypes. And this is what gives you your credibility, helps you overcome imposter syndrome, as well as the procrastination that comes from that, and gives you the marketing strategy for your book. So the three author archetypes, first one is you could be a role model archetype. And a role model means whatever the reader is going through and struggling with, you've been through that and you've come out the other side. So for instance, I have a client, he helps people with binge eating, and he used to binge eat and be, have a food addiction. He overcame it, and now he's sharing his message with others, of what he's learned. So that's the role model. You've been through what the reader has been through. You've overcome it yourself. The second author archetype would be the practitioner archetype. Practitioner is like someone who is certified, typically someone who does this work a lot with clients. So think about like a personal trainer or a therapist. So I'll often give the example of a therapist. Let's say a therapist is writing a book on addiction. Maybe the therapist never had an addiction, him or herself or theirself, but they've helped hundreds or thousands of people overcome addiction. So they're a practitioner. Right. They have a process that helps the clients that they work with. And the third author archetype is the researcher. And there's actually a lot of popular books that if you look at how they originated, it was the author almost has like a journalistic approach where they went out and they studied the topic. So I think Robert Greene, Malcolm Gladwell, Robert Cialdini, I love the book Influenced by Cialdini. So he went out and he studied salespeople and marketers and people who were very influential, and he figured out like what are these patterns, what are the things that they do, and then put it into a book. So some of my books, some of mine are kind of more from the role model standpoint, some from the practitioner, some from the researcher. I have a book, Weight Loss Motivation Hacks. And I was not someone who struggled with needing to lose weight. So I'm not the role model in that. What I can say though, is I've studied the most successful people when it came to people who've lost weight and kept it off. Here's the strategies they used. And yes, I have used them myself for motivation, but not specifically for weight loss. Yet it's incredibly valuable to the people who read it, because it's not about whether I've done it. I'm saying this is what research shows. This is what other people have done. Right. I'm just like, I'm the messenger passing this forward to you. So when you understand your archetype, and you might have a mix of these, but you'll find there's probably one that's strongest. You go, okay, now I believe in myself and my message. I know how to position it. That will give you more confidence. And then practically speaking, if you want to get something done, they say nothing gets done without a deadline. So I can tell, like, I have a book that is not that it's been kind of working on the last couple years, and I just haven't finished it. Why? Well, I know why. I didn't put a deadline on it. So until there's a deadline, it's just kind of indefinitely back there, get to it. But the books that I got done, 6, 7 books that I've written, why did I get those done? I put a deadline, and I did have sometimes accountability where I told told some friends like, hey, I'm going to get the next chapter done, or I'm going to get the rough draft done by this date. If I don't get it done, I owe you each $20 or owe you some money or whatever.
That friendship.
Yeah. So now you have a deadline with accountability. And once you're really committed to it, that'll show you if you're really committed. Then setting that deadline will help. And it also helps, some people, you do want to adjust the deadline based off of your ability. So, if you've never written a book before, don't make the deadline 3 days from now necessarily, although you could, and sometimes that helps. And the benefit of a deadline is if you actually make it less time than you think you need, it will force you to really get focused and go, okay, what's the most important thing to include in this book? And that actually helps you narrow your focus. So you do want like a healthy degree of pressure. And I give one more thing, especially when it comes to writer's block. When you write, I use a 3 magic words technique. This is the best thing I could share for procrastination or fear or overwhelm or anything like that. I share this with someone. She's like, this was more helpful in some ways than 15 years of therapy in terms of getting stuff done and getting yourself motivated. And the technique is this. You use the 3 words, can I just, and then you insert a micro commitment. And a micro commitment is something incredibly easy to do, low pressure, no sense of quality. So here's what I mean. Can I just write 1 sentence? Then I can stop after that. Can I just write 1 sentence? It doesn't even have to be a good sentence, right? Yeah. Can I just write whatever the thoughts are in my head right now? And, then if I get inspired and want to keep going, I can, but you make it so easy that you get started. And what you find is momentum generates motivation. So if I say to myself, do I want to clean my entire, clean my entire place? I might go, nah, I don't feel like it. But if I go, can I just clean off this corner of my desk?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can do that. Well, can I clean off it? Well, I already did that. I might as well finish up this desk. I mean, I can stop after that. Well, I got that desk clean. I might as well clean this. And then next thing you know, like you're in the flow, then you don't want to stop and you keep going. So that's the way that you get going. And the way you get it done is by having the deadline.
Absolutely. I love that because I normally sort of adapt that when I'm feeling a little bit unbothered. I take it in steps and I just say, if I just do a little bit of this, and then, at the end of the day, I end up finishing doing the rest of the task. So thanks for sharing that, which is really amazing. Listen, it's been such an amazing interview. We can go on for a very, very much longer time. But, everything that's great always comes to an end. So I just wanted to say, are there any last remarks and how can people actually get in touch with you as well?
Yeah, final remarks is I believe everyone has a book within them. I believe you have a book within you, something that's valuable for you. And whether it's to grow your business or to leave a legacy, I would encourage each of you, get a book out there. And it's something that if all it does is something that you can pass forward to for generations to come, whether that's your family, your kids, your friends, other people who will come after you, you have your lifetime of experience that you've learned. And a book is a way that you can use this and get it out to the world to impact their lives positively. And the way that you can reach me, I mentioned it before, best place is get a free copy of Why Authors Fail at bestsellersecrets.com. And once you're there, you'll have access to my email. And it's also info at bestsellersecrets.com is another way that you can get in touch.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. So I'm going to share all your links in the comment bar below. I want to say thank you to all the amazing guests who have actually tuned in today. And they've enjoyed the interview. Thank you so much, Derek. It's been a pleasure having you here tonight. I'm super, super grateful that you came on board. And I look forward, for many, many more great encounter with you in the future. And I just want to say thank you so much for a wonderful evening tonight. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you here. So to all our wonderful viewers, thanks for watching. And I'll be back again on Tuesday with another special guest. And we're going to be talking all about business strategies, tips to help you grow and, allow your business to actually flourish. So thank you so much. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you so much, Derek. Take care. Stay blessed. Thank you.